Attention, attention. I think we found the problem. The gorilla that escaped the zoo and punched you in the eye when you were watching my funny videos late at night. The reason why he did it is because you don't have a tripod from Archon Mounts. Go to archon.com. That's ARKON.com. Get yourself a tripod. Whether you're a content creator, you use DSLRs, or you go on YouTube, Twitch, all those fancy social media sites, even maybe you're a live streamer, you need a tripod. The reason why you need it, if you don't have one, that gorilla will find you late at night when you're watching my funny videos. He's going to slap you in the eye with your cell phone. Go to archon.com, ARKON.com. Be sure at checkout to put in Hawaii for 20% off your entire order. That's right. Hawaii will get you 20% off your entire order. That's HAWAII for 20% off at archon.com. That's ARKON.com. Archon.com, keeping your devices within reach. Yes, so family, we are live on Twitter Spaces. For the new guys, it's called X Spaces. I think it's a little sneaky trick by Elon to make us say SpaceX in our sleep. So we are live. This is Global Sessions number 38. We do have a title, believe it or not, and it's called Engagement Farming, the Truth. And so if this is a topic that interests you, obviously we're going to have an open floor, open mic, since we are on Spaces. Spaces is not a really organized podcast format. However, we are going to cover that topic, and I'm going to ask, depending who shows up, and if not, we're going to just go back and forth. Tala has been one of my, not just favorites, she's been one of my loyals. Just hang out and talk story, and we actually have a deep discussion, even though we troll each other a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we are doing this live actually on Twitter /X Spaces. So thank you for those of you that have been very, very loyal listening to me on Apple Podcasts and also on Spotify and also on YouTube Podcasts, which used to be called Google Podcasts, but now it's YouTube Podcasts. So we're going to play a fancy song. We'll be back in about 49 seconds. You're listening to Brother Greg, or the real Greg Lopez. Some people call me Gilo, not a lot. If you're my family and friends, you may just call me Brother Greg. We'll be back in 49 seconds. You're listening to Glow Sessions number 38.
Woke up every day like this. It's a brand new day. Hey. Wake up every morning and say it's a brand new day. Hey. Take a good day, make it great, okay? 'Cause if you got some lemons, make some lemonade. Yeah, chase those clouds away. It's a brand new day. Hey. It's a brand new day. It's a brand new day. Okay, okay.
A brand new day it is indeed. I'm going to go ahead and give Tala the mic. Man, I just came back from a hiking expedition, man. Tala, bro, my legs is like, what the heck? My back, what the heck? Holy smokes, my back is like, brother. I thought I was in shape, but not really.
It looked like the view was worth it, though.
Oh, it was worth it for sure. Definitely. Bro, it was nice. And it's funny because, man, we've been here long enough to, like, we should have done this a long time. Well, you know, the weather is not always the best. So,
Yeah, that's true. I'm was really shocked when you said you haven't seen Multnomah Falls yet, because that is spectacular and it's right there.
well, we've driven by it so much. It's just, yeah, you know, because I always kind of, it seems like I'm flexing about all the traveling we do, but it's always business. And so every time we pass by, it's kind of like we don't have time to pull over. So, but I heard it's beautiful. I really, yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable. I mean, you guys have a lot going on. I got to see it when I was in my early 20s. I was up there in Grants Pass and Portland visiting various friends. So I had some people that I stayed with a little bit that took me around and showed me the sights. Multnomah Falls was one, Crater Lake, and Mount Hood, because one of the ladies in the group, her son worked at the resort there, in the ski resort.
Now, Grants Pass is, I know that's the one place that they get a lot of snow, and a lot of times they don't really clear it out. Sometimes it gets so bad they don't clear it out. I think that's the one I'm thinking about. But yeah, I'm trying to drink some coffee. We had Mexican food, and I swear, before I came to Oregon, I swear, like, I'm not gonna eat Mexican food. Like, I don't hate Mexican food, I just don't like it. But I've been eating a lot of it. I'm like, what the heck, man? It's like,
I'm gonna wager that you haven't had good Mexican food, if that's the case.
well, I'm not going to say that to these people because the people that we eat it from, they're legit Mexican because they can't even speak English.
Well,
So
here's the thing. In the Bay Area, I learned better. There is a difference depending on what area of South America. Deep South American does things that I do not like. For example, putting cinnamon in chorizo and eggs.
well, okay, I'll say this. Even though they're Mexican, that doesn't guarantee because I know that, and I'm just not racist by any means. But if you're like a Hawaiian cooking Hawaiian food, or if you're Mexican cooking Mexican food, or whatever, Chinese, you're never really going to make your dishes authentic to home if your clientele is, the majority of them are Caucasian and they're not Mexican, or you know what I mean. They're not going to buy it. And just be honest, they're not going to like. I mean, okay, I'm going to just say a lot of people that I know that are, Caucasian, like if they buy a whole fish, which is extremely rare, they're not even going to cook the whole thing. They're going to cut the fillet and throw it, the head, tail, the cheek. They'll throw all that away. Not us.
They don't know. They don't know not to waste it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will tell you this. In Northern California, we could not find reasonable Mexican food to save our lives. That was one of the things that when we moved back to SoCal again, it was like, oh God, we're home. And I mean, that may be our proximity to the border, but you can get the real thing here. You just have to know where to go.
Well, I'll say that there's a lot of foods that, like, Chinese people, Mexicans, like, I remember when I went south to Southern Oregon, and there was this one town. It was like straight up like just Mexicans everywhere, and I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And so I went to this one place, and they had food that you would never find anyplace else. Like they had every cut of beef except the cuts of beef that everybody else eats. So beef tongue, they had tripe stew. They had like beef tongue, and it's all prepared, So you won't find that in Central Oregon. You won't find that in, maybe you would, but in very few places,
Yeah, doubtful. Yeah, here you can get tripas and lingua easily.
Which is,
tripas is tripe.
Oh, tripe.
Lingua is tongue. Yeah.
What the heck? And by the way, for those of you on Spotify, yeah, she's flexing her. The Tala's got some years of experience.
You don't go to the taco truck and order it in English. Come on.
No, look, if I'm Hawaiian, I'm not gonna expect some guy to talk to me in Hawaiian because I'll just laugh at him. You know what I mean? No matter how good they think they are, I'm still gonna laugh at them.
If it's in Spanish on the menu, I'm ordering it in Spanish. I'm just saying.
Yeah. All I care about is that they eat it the way that they're supposed to. They can butcher the language. I could care less, but don't put
little abomination salads.
Exactly. Well, let's get right into it. And then, so engagement farming. So I for those that don't know, I sent Tala a lengthy response to what engagement farming. I'll just read it out loud. And there's multiple definitions, but the basics of engagement farming is when someone wants to get more engagement on social platforms. This can be, for example, by participating in multiple, let's say, Twitter spaces at once without adding any specific value, but only to pump up one's metrics, or I call them vanity metrics. So basically you get more followers, likes, comments, retweets, social media platforms, and for some people it grows their personal brand. Now, that's the most basic form of, and now there's different specifics which we'll cover. And one of the things is, at the core of it, I don't see anything wrong for someone that is trying to expose their brand or their company. I really don't, because in a way it's kind of advertising, but there's a lot of problems that come with it. And so Elon Musk has been known in the past day or two to really, he's been triggering a lot of people. So, and I think that's part of the drama, right? That's part of the drama. And I think he knows what he could have been very clear in the beginning if he wanted to, but he chose not to. And so,
He likes to troll.
well,
He likes to stir people up. I don't mean troll in a vicious
yeah,
way.
yeah.
He just likes to stir them up. Yeah.
Well, he could have been specific, right? He could have, but he chose not to be specific in the beginning.
Exactly.
And what that does is it gets people. There's more now. I can guarantee there's a lot more traffic. I mean, look right now. There's like 4 or 5 spaces right now talking about, engagement farming. So,
Which, I mean, essentially what he did was engagement farming.
yeah, exactly. But I think that in pure definition is when you are getting engagement that is not legitimate, organic engagement. And I think I've done it. I mean, I think people know that. They can tell you, look at my content. I've done it for various things. If I have a new product, I'll pay for, it's actually through Twitter. So you can buy ads through Twitter, which to me, that's engagement farm. You're just paying somebody to do it for you, And so that's why people are triggered. Like, what do you mean? Right. It's like, what does he mean engagement farming?
I mean, I knew what he was getting at, but I just kind of wanted to see where people would take it. I had to laugh about it. That's why I engaged in the conversations. Like, okay, yeah, well, I mean, if you want ad revenue, you pretty much have to engagement farm. What I was pointing out is there's more than one definition. And if the thing that everybody's mad about is this, you get a large account, post something interesting, especially if it's a video, and what do you see when you scroll down in the comments? Video after video after video that is completely unrelated. I believe that part of what he's trying to do is get rid of that nonsense.
Well, see, that's initially that's spamming, right? If that's the initial reaction there is actual spam, and then now spamming usually elicits a response. So what is their so some people so
those accounts that are doing that, though, they're using the other person's following to get attention. So it's another type of engagement farming that you didn't earn. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. One, it's free speech. So either you're free speech or you're not. So the issue is not if he's saying they're gonna, shut down engagement farming accounts and the ones that it's traced to. One, he's just threatening people, first of all, and the second thing is,
yeah.
And I don't want to go into the revenue yet, but I think, look, if I have a big account, like if I make a post and I get 1,000 impressions in about a minute, if I'm a small account, I'm automatically going to go to that and read it and maybe participate in this discussion because maybe I'll get more people to look at what I'm saying. That's kind of like big brother, little brother. The big brother pulls up his little brother up to the, like, for example, I always wanted to go with my brother to go hang out with him. It's the same thing. And so now here's the problem. I guess we'll go straight into it. The revenue. So, and I'm probably going to be corrected on it, but ad revenue sharing, that needs to be defined even before the engagement farming, because I think the engagement farming is a direct response to the ad rev sharing. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
So I know we talked about it before, but if you have a bunch of people that are trying to get a piece of this pie, of this ad revenue, and they have to maintain their impressions, you better believe they're going to maintain their impressions at some form or another. And I don't know if I should go there. I'll just go there now. So, family, for those of you that are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, this is probably not as relevant to you, but I think the concepts we're going to talk about would make sense. So there are these huge accounts on social media. It doesn't just have to be Twitter or X. It's other platforms. So a lot of these big accounts, if you ever notice, they have 300,000, 500,000. Some have 900,000 followers. And then you look at the people that they follow. Let's say they follow. Okay, let's start with this one. They'll follow 30,000 people. Okay. Now, you and I both know there is no way that I can follow 30,000 people and actually engage with 30,000. It is inhumanly, there are not enough minutes in a day. So it leads to the question, why are they following 30,000 people? Like, really, honestly. And I'm calling people out today. Why are you following 30,000? Why are you following 30,000 people? And the answer is simple. If we really do the math, I follow you, you follow me. You like me, I like you. If you don't like me, I don't like you. If you don't follow me, I unfollow you. It's like high school.
That's middle school.
Yeah.
But I agree. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. And I can't do that. I can't keep track of that many people, and I just don't want to play.
I had a big account that I followed that I like this content. I unfollowed him because I don't even listen to him anymore. I don't even like. It's not that I don't care for the guy. I don't have the time. Like, I have enough motivational content in my life. I don't need yours. And it's okay if I don't like you. Like, it's okay if you don't like me. That's fine. So I unfollowed this person, and literally within, I would say, a couple of minutes, he unfollowed me. So here's a question: did he
Wow.
Well, no. Well, did he organically unfollow me, or did
That's what I'm. That's why I said, "Wow!" Like that. If it's that quick, it almost has to be related to the fact that you unfollowed. And so, how did he know that fast?
No. So I'll tell you. So there's a company called I used them before. I can't remember, but basically you pay a company that helps you find people that like you, like your content. You put in the type of content that you've got, and it'll gather these people together, and you can kind of pick and choose if you want to follow, because supposedly if you have the same interest, maybe it'll help your engagement, but that's not always true either. You know what I mean? Just because people, like, you have the same desires and maybe like the same, that's not always true in terms of engagement. So that's the drama there. So anyways, some of these companies and these services, when you follow somebody, it tends to get that person to follow you back. That's the theory, right? So that's why you see a lot of accounts, if they have 70,000 followers and they follow 35,000, then you notice the ratio always seems to be right at about 50, close to 50, no more than 60%. It's because it's all automated. It's all designed to make sure that they don't violate the terms of service with Twitter.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the service also, what it does is if somebody unfollows you, you can set parameters to where you automatically unfollow them, because it'll hurt your ratios, right?
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So like I said, Tala, I was born at night, but I wasn't born yesterday. So, you know.
That's what I always tell people. I was born at night. It wasn't last
Oh, yeah.
night.
I butchered it. What's up, Thunder BA? How you doing, bro? So, and that's that part. So anyways, getting back to the whole big accounts. Now there's the other accounts that have, let's say, 500,000 followers. Great. That's awesome. We can go into details on how that works. And then you notice they only follow, let's say, 400 people. And then you look at their posts and, wow, these guys get a lot of engagement. They're getting a lot of impressions. They must post great content. And some of them post amazing content. They really do. But then you really think, are they really posting that much epic content? Or is there something else going on here? And when you look at the people that they follow, and you follow the crumbs, there's a good handful of them that have the same type of engagement in their posts, and maybe their accounts are not as big as that 500,000 member account, but he seemed to know, oh, there's a trend here. And that's what Elon talked about in one of his posts. And actually, it was somebody else that mentioned it. When you have a group of people that support one another, and that's fine. Hey, we have a team. Me and Tala, we're a team, or we have other people, but we're not paying each other to give fake engagement. I'm not paying, or I have bot accounts to engage with other accounts. Now, on paper, it's okay if it's a marketing strategy. Okay. Now, this is where the problem is. Twitter is paying out millions of dollars from their advertiser revenue to pay creators. I'm just throwing a fake number. I don't know how much they're really paying. Well, here's the problem. If 500,000 follower account is getting paid because of his impressions, are they real impressions or are they not? Right. So Tala, I don't know, how many impressions do you have? How much did you ever look impression wise?
I really don't pay attention to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it on an individual post, like my pinned. That one has quite a bit now. In fact, when we did that podcast, you commented that it had maybe 1,000, and now it's like 5,000. So just pinning it made it visible.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So I guess if you maintain impressions, then it's good, because You maintain a certain average. So for anybody that doesn't know, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify podcasts, Twitter has an ad revenue share program that they introduced last July, I think, or June or July, where they're going to give creators a percentage of ad revenue. Now, they never published the actual percentages or the details on who gets paid and how they get paid. They just said it's an ad revenue share program. So everybody's happy about it, and I get it. Like, if I got one, I'd be happy to. However, I would like to know, where is the money coming from? Like, who's paying me? Like, there should also be a list of advertisers. Like,
that, and I think I mentioned this before, like, who's getting what percentage?
Right?
I don't think it's the same across the board.
I mean, this isn't socialism. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit there and
Exactly.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's been published. I don't think there's been a published percentages or who the advertisers are. At least I don't think.
I haven't seen anything.
No, it's a privately held company, so they don't technically have to do that. However, if we're going to be getting paid from a corporation, that's something that I would definitely request. But because it's not a publicly traded company, they're not required by law to disclose anything, as far as I'm concerned. And we're not employees, right? So that's that. So if they're not transparent about ad revenue sharing, and nobody really knows, so if I'm someone that has a huge account, you better believe, and I'm not saying this is me, but you better believe if I'm a crooked person, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure all of my posts get likes, reposts, people following each other. This gets shared out, sharing upon sharing, comments after comments after comments, because it's going to increase the total amount of impressions.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And I think that's where, I mean, Elon could have just said, hey, if you guys keep gaming in the system, you're going to lose access to your ad revenue sharing program. He could have just said that. But I'm sure there's more.
Same thing, just worded it differently, I think.
Well, what do you think? What is the biggest, outside of the ad rev share program, what is the problem with engagement farming? Like, what is really the problem with it?
Well, depending on which type.
Right.
I don't know. It just seems like creating a whole bunch of bots. The whole point of engagement is to engage with other humans. If it's just a bunch of bots boosting your numbers, I feel like it's cheating.
Well, why would they want to boost the numbers? Let's say creators, right? Why would a creator want to boost the numbers?
Money.
Money.
I don't know. I mean, it's not what I'm after, but most people are after money.
Well, here's a question. For anybody that's on Spotify or even Apple Podcasts, the socials that you're on, what are the benefits of having more people listen to you, follow you, other than money? I think, let's look at it from a corporate standpoint. If Elon has a bunch of advertisers on the table and they're like, okay, we're not going to put our money into your ads until we see what your actual impressions are, or what is your whatever the words they use. I feel like, and this is what I've been preaching, there have been a lot of people that have been investing into X/Twitter, and maybe the return on investment hasn't been what they desired. And now it's like, okay, hey, what's going on here? I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Like, hey, what's going on?
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that goes back to money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Well, so one of the companies that, and Tala knows them, but they've been working with me for a while, and it's Archon Mounts, and they've been so good to me. Like, I'm not even a top producer, anywhere near the top producer for them. They have actually a lot of big name YouTubers that are, they sponsor. And so, but the one thing that is very clear is that I'm not going to give them a fake number. Like, hey, I have, and actually I don't even tell them like, hey, I have like, X amount of impressions. I just tell them, what do you need? Or like, if I sell a tripod, for example, if someone buys a tripod, it's very simple. 10%, that's your cut. You promote a product. If you want to do a giveaway, you let us know. We'll give us some time and we'll sponsor it. And it's very transparent, very simple. There's nothing shady about it. If I don't produce numbers for them, I don't get paid. And I think that ad rev share program is shady. Not necessarily corrupt, but it's shady in the sense we do not know where the truth is in regards to the payouts. And I think that opens up a lot of the issues like engagement farming and all that stuff.
I guess I can see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, I that's just what I believe. I might be wrong, and maybe I'm totally missing it. Maybe someone that actually gets ad rev share, maybe has a lot of followers. I will say publicly, I won't say who, but I've been approached by certain people that charge for engagement, and so in a very nice way, I said, thank you so much for thinking of me. I appreciate the time you took to present this package to me. And I'm like, it's just not what I want to do. And I was very honest with them. I said, if I pay for your services, will that guarantee that these people will buy products or services from the companies that are connected to me? And they couldn't answer. And so I'm like, okay, because the way I look at it, that's kind of like advertising for me. I will gladly pay advertising costs. But if it gives me a number that is only glamour in nature, then I don't want to use it. That's just my opinion. So I'm off of that soapbox. I think I need to take a break from that.
It makes sense, though. Yeah, I would have to agree. People are perfectly willing to talk about transparency in politics, but I mean, nothing else, right?
Yeah. And by the way, Thunder's been sitting there just listening, very polite. Thank you. Thunder BA with no profile picture. And you follow me. Thank you for following me. Appreciate you. And no posts as well. 5 posts. Okay. Well, thank you for following. Thank you for being in the conversation. Here's a question. We're going off topic, but when are you going hiking again?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I was working on my, distance and getting my cardio up, and then I got sick. So yeah, it kind of flattened me. I'm not quite over it yet. So, I need to be in decent condition in a couple of months. We're headed back to Keyport, New Jersey at the end of July. So be there for the speedbag thing again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, it's all gotten very weird because, Jim's off with this knee injury and we're waiting on scheduling for the surgery. He doesn't see the ortho until May 31st. This is how inefficient they are. So he's probably going to be recovering from the knee surgery. Like, let's get him moving well enough to be able to go on the trip like that. It's going to be close.
Well, I will say, bro, because after today's hike, I was like, bro, like my lower left back is like, I can feel the tightness. I'm okay. And part of it, I had a backpack. So my backpack was kind of, and I had like a 2-pound water bottle on the back. It's on the bottom. So it kept swaying back and forth. So it's kind of jerking me left and right. I'm like, okay, I definitely got to do this more so I get used to the movement. So
yeah, and sometimes it's the fit of the pack that has to be just right for your frame. That's been always one of the benefits of the REI stores is they will fit a backpack. Make sure you've got the right one. They do the same thing as they do with their boots and shoes. Yeah.
I know our title says engagement farming, and we're gonna probably come back to it, but when I do these shows, glow sessions, it's basically just a discussion. So I always tell people, for a guest that I have, I always tell them, I have a living room format where I don't have a list of questions. Although, actually, I take that back. I do have a list of questions, but I don't have a time constraint when I have a guest because I don't want them to feel like I've got, 30 seconds to answer this question so one of the things I wanted to talk about today, I'm trying to pull it out very gingerly, but I have one of my books. It was, we've been doing these devotions with my kids every day. And so we spend about an hour a day doing these with our kids. And I was reading this excerpt, and I'll share it real quick. I know this is totally not in line with our title, but I want to share it anyway. Check this out. So, this is a book by Francis Chan. I actually seen him in Southern California years ago. Back in 2005. I went to a conference, and he was speaking there. And Francis Chan, he used to be a pastor of a church in Simi Valley, I think it's called. Simi Valley, California. But anyways, his book, I'll read this. Check this out. It says, did you know that a caterpillar has 228 separate and distinct muscles in its head? That's quite a few for a bug. And bro, when I read that, I was like, holy smokes, that's a lot of muscles, bro. And actually separate and distinct muscles in its head. And I had to fact check that, and that's true. A caterpillar. Yeah. Did you know that?
Strangely, I've actually heard that before.
What the? Who knows that information?
I know, right?
What the heck? And we're sitting here crying about our neck muscles being sore, and a caterpillar has like 228 to worry about. That's crazy.
They don't carry backpacks.
Yeah. Well, you know, it shows the significance of like who we are at, like, I sound like a weirdo right now, but it shows the significance of who we are, like the things that we do in our lives. And I know we're talking about things that seem big and everybody's all triggered, and all day today, all I saw was people talking about engagement farming. But I thought about it today. I'm like, man, there's so many things in life that are so much more relevant than getting impressions on Twitter. And I'll read, let me read on, check this out. So
Totally.
The average elm tree has approximately 6 million leaves on it. I didn't even know that. And here's one more, and then I'll stop this rant. Your own heart, you may know this, Tala, your own heart generates enough pressure as it pumps blood throughout your body that it could squirt blood up 30 feet into the air. I don't know if you even knew that. I didn't even know that. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, impressive, isn't it?
That's crazy.
It's a strong muscle. It works all the time.
And I'm gonna call out all the people that are like Big Bang Theory people. Like, if you believe in a Big Bang and you believe what I just read, you're an idiot. What the heck? There's no way that stuff just randomly happened. Somebody had to design that. Like, there's no way.
Well, I've always looked at it this way. Sure, there was a Big Bang, but why?
Yeah. Who?
That just, yeah, like you said, that just randomly happened. Kenneth Copeland was one who used to laugh about that. He said, there sure was a Big Bang. It's like, yeah.
Isn't that the crazy preacher guy, Kenneth Copeland? That's the crazy guy, right?
He's not crazy.
No, he's not crazy. No, I don't mean it in a negative way. But he's the one that has the jet, right? That's the same guy?
He has a few of them now. I was one of the donators that helped get the first one.
He's funny.
It's a good thing he had those, because Glenn Beck was getting people out that were abandoned over there. Remember that?
Well, here's the funny thing with Kenneth Copeland. I followed him over the years, and he's a great preacher to meme. He's so easy to meme, like, or make funny videos. But when they had the video of the reporter that caught him in the hangar.
Oh God, yeah.
Hey, that's classic.
I can see that being me. Just like, I've had it up to here. I could do that to somebody.
No, but you know what? So we have friends that I met. So when I worked for Paul Mitchell, one of our friends, and I've never asked them, but I'm just guessing their net worth is probably in the billions. It probably dipped a little bit, but they always flew private. They never flew commercial. It was extremely rare. They have a big family, so they have whenever they would come out, they had like 20 people in their family, and so they would all fly in a private jet. And for them, it made sense to them. They had their own pilot. I don't think they owned the jet. It was one of those. What do they call those things? It's kind of like a ride. It's not ride share. What do they call it? Charter? Charter? Yeah. It's like a charter jet, but it's a private jet.
Okay.
So, but anyways, yeah. They swore that that's the best way to fly, and the cost is a little bit more, but it's worth it. The
comfort and the peace of mind and not having to deal with everybody. Yeah, I would definitely do that if I could.
That's what I would do. I mean,
Why not?
And I'm not flexing by any means, but whenever I travel, I try my best to fly, at least business class or first class. It's never about the luxury. I just cannot handle coach. My body
Yeah.
cannot handle. Um,
It's rough
yeah.
because and I say that because like that's all I've ever flown. I ended up on a short hop in first class one time because uh in the middle of winter and coming back from Christmas, there were always difficulties with the weather landing in Tulsa. So they turned us around and sent us back to DFW. I hate that airport. I cried. But to compensate, they dispersed us amongst other planes to get us back to Tulsa and put us in first class for our inconvenience. So that's the only time. Yeah.
I would tell you that the first time I flew first, I felt guilty. I felt bad because I'm like I had my own. Um, it was on United. It's on United because I fly the long flight, so I get the lay down seat. It's a recliner, and it lays down flat. And I felt guilty at first because I'm like, man, I get these ceramic bowls with metal forks and spoons with gold plating on it, and I get my own cloth napkin. They give you toothpaste, toothbrush. You get your own brush. You have an eye patch. You get your own television screen with your own keyboard. You have your own private lamping situation. You have your own luggage space, top and bottom. Um, your flight attendant knows your name. They know your first and last name. They take your order before you even fly. I have my own closet, so if like I have my music instruments. They let me put I felt guilty at first, and then I'm like, I am not feeling guilty because I paid double price of what I would have paid in a regular flight. So after the first time, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm blessed, and I'm just grateful I can do this. So I'm going to spend the money and do it. Um,
That right there is at the core of what Copeland teaches. You're blessed. There's nothing wrong with enjoying what you have been blessed with.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, there's a false, and we're going to migrate the conversation, but there's a false belief that if you believe in God, if you are a quote unquote Christian, we're going to talk about that. Um, that you should be broken poor. And I'll be the first to say,
Yeah.
first of all, poverty is not of the Lord. Poverty is not anything of the Lord at all. People say, "Oh, Jesus was poor." No, he was not.
No, he was not. Look at what he did and what he had. Yeah, he was not poor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just look at scripture. We're not going to get into like theological debate, but what did the Roman soldiers fight over? They fought over his clothing.
Clothing, it was quite valuable,
Yeah.
yes.
People don't talk about that, right? They don't say, "Oh, yeah, he was." No. And another part in scripture where, when he fed the 5,000, the disciples were complaining, right? They're like, and I'm paraphrasing, like, Jesus, why did you bring us out here? We're like, the nearest town is so far away. How are we going to feed? And literally it says, how are we going to feed these people? And nowhere in scripture did Jesus say, well, let's go ask everybody. Let's go figure out and see if anybody can help us get food. Scripture very clearly says, Jesus says, you go and go get them food. You go and you go get it. You take care of it. Nowhere does it say for them to beg.
Nope, nowhere. Yeah.
Now,
Go get it. How do we do that? I wonder how they would do that.
well, you think about it, right? So Jesus, he had what? He had three people that were good with money, right? He had the tax collector, Judas, and the other one was I'm going to brain fart, but minimum of two, right? Tax collector
Yeah.
and Judas. I can imagine they're like, Jesus, bro, we got to feed how many people? And it wasn't just 5,000, right? That was just the men. So you're talking about at least 12,000 people they had to feed.
Hmm.
Because they didn't, if you look at scripture, it says they didn't count the women and children. They only counted the men. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of things.
Well, people don't. First of all, most people don't study in the original languages like I have, but uh they don't read between the lines. So in writing, there's a lot that is said in the areas where nothing is being said. And that can start with there's nothing that says he was poor. Well, but it doesn't say he was wealthy either. Oh, but it does. It's just not in those words.
Well, even custom. So if you look at his birth, right? So a lot of you go to every Christmas play in America, they always show the wise men, and it's only three, which is not scriptural. There are actually more than three, but they always show the wise men showing up to Jesus right when he's born in the manger. But if you, I don't know why it's so funny. I guess it sells tickets. But if you look at scripture, the wise men didn't show up at the manger. Nowhere in scripture does it. There's no scripture that says the wise men showed up at the manger.
Exactly.
They actually showed up when Jesus was already at a house, because it says that they entered into his home and they brought
I
forth.
imagine the way that idea started is someone trying to create a scene that portrayed the most important elements of his birth, and since the story of the wise men is part of that, they want to cram it all into one artistic image. So that's, I think, how we ended up with the manger with the wise men. Yeah.
I'll go with that, but I also go with indoctrination, deceit, and evil too. I believe that could be. I mean, that could be a possibility.
I didn't suggest the method, but that would be the method. Yes.
I mean, with you being Native American, me being Native Hawaiian, I think we both understand how that could easily come about, right? So
Just a little bit.
yeah. But the other thing people don't talk about, since we're on this topic of Jesus and talking about not religion, but my dad had a discussion about a week ago. So my dad teaches pickleball, right? So he's got a group of people that after they're done playing pickleball, they usually have these discussions. And one of the discussions was, and I'm not going to mention names because this is probably a private discussion, but the discussion was, oh, Jesus, was kind of what we talked about. Oh, Jesus was poor and all this. And my dad's like, no. And my dad, he's a retired pastor. He used to teach Greek. So my dad knows his word. He doesn't just know the word. He knows the word. And my dad's not going to flex or brag, but one of the things came out was my dad, this is where you can hear me and my dad are similar. My dad is like, oh, so what was the first miracle that Jesus did? And this poor person was just triggered. And it was juice. No, the scripture says it was wine. But back then, no, it clearly says it was wine. And it's funny because a lot of religious people in church growing up would be like, don't you drink? Because drinking is not however, getting drunk obviously is. Drinking.
Yeah, it didn't say not to drink wine. It said be not drunk with wine.
And what it says to be of sound mind too, right? To be of clean or of sober mind, of sound mind. So obviously don't.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, here's the other kicker. And it's funny because I'm an adult when I realize this. The picture is all over the world. It's in every Catholic church. It's in every Catholic home. What is Jesus doing at the Last Supper? All those guys are at the table. What is Jesus holding? He's holding.
I'm trying to picture it in my head.
he's holding a cup.
Yeah.
And it's not water. And so for anybody who wants to fact check me, go read the scripture. What does it say? And Jesus takes the cup of wine, takes a sip, and he says, this is my blood.
Mm-hmm.
Take it and drink of it. Nobody talks about how, wait a minute. So people say, oh, he only turned water. No, he also drank it too. That's going to trigger a lot of my religious friends.
Well, I mean, culturally, he wouldn't have been there and celebrating and not participate. He wouldn't not drink. It would, in that culture, be considered rude.
Yeah. And I think water is definitely not probably in high abundance as well in certain areas. So that's understandable.
Yeah. I mean, there was some discussion I was in one study about, I believe it was Timothy who had problems with his stomach.
Yep.
And the
Or Paul.
instruction was to take a little bit of wine. I think it was Timothy, and
Oh,
Paul
Timothy.
was instructing him. Yeah. So the instruction was to take a little bit of wine for his stomach. Medicine.
Well, here's a question. I think it was, I can't remember where I talked about. Oh, it was on my live stream. We talked about how a lot of people claim to be Christians, right? And I think I said that I don't use that term anymore. I very rarely will say I am a Christian. It's not that I'm not a Christian. It's just that that word Christian has gotten to a place where people identify Christians in a negative light.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah. And without even fact checking, just look at TD Jakes. If people think that TD Jakes is a Christian with all those things that are surrounding him and that's their image of what a Christian is, oh man, we're in a dark place. We're in a tough place, you know.
Hmm.
The other
I know.
who
I
else?
listen. I listen to TD Jakes, but I don't have television. If I see somebody online, I see videos. But other than that, it's mostly audio that I listen to.
Well, there's another one. John Gray and his wife, Ron Carpenter Jr. They're all great pastors, and I've met Ron Carpenter Jr. Some other ones. Who else? Man, there's a lot. A lot of preachers that we see on TV. You know, in our generation, Jim and Tammy Faye. Right, we all know what happened there, and then of course with
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Swaggart.
yeah,
So that's what people's perception of what a Christian is. And then actually in 2024, it's what I said the other night. People say, man, I just want to say I love God. I believe in God. And thank you, God, for, blessing me today. 5 minutes later, they're dropping F-bombs. Like, it's like, what?
I'm not perfect in that regard, but I try to control myself.
Well, I think the word is fruit, right?
Yeah.
The world will know you by your fruit. And
Yeah.
I get it. Like, even I ain't gonna lie, I stumble every day. But if you're saying one thing, and let's go to the issue of God, right? If you ask somebody, okay, do you believe in God? And I think everybody in general will say they believe in God, whether they capitalize it or they don't capitalize God.
Yeah.
And I was reading this. I'll share it right here. And it's the same author. He says that we don't get to decide who God is. And I'm like, wow, that's so true. We don't get to decide who God is. And I think in the book of Exodus, it says that is when he was talking to Moses, he says, I am who I am. And it was like just simple. I am who I am, period. And it's,
Yeah.
you look at, and I want to pick on spaces since we're on spaces, but it feels like a lot of people will decide who God is. And we fit him into our discussions or narratives, and this is who God is. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Because I think rather than I think my circle, how I talk about the circle, like the closer I am to God, me and my wife, my kids, job, business, all that stuff, the more in alignment we'll be with each other. I think the problem with a lot of us is that we put God in our circle and then we'll take him out when we're good,
Yeah.
But that's a little bit deeper than I wanted to go on this discussion. So getting on the light side of things, Tala, what are your plans this weekend? Today's Aloha Friday. You have any plans this Friday or this weekend, Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah, not really, because I'm still not 100%. But next weekend, I'm hoping to visit my mom and dad because I haven't seen them in a while.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've got that I got to take my car into Caliber to have the repairs from the guy who backed into me. And I have a rental car in the meantime because AAA is covering that because it was not my fault.
Do you have the rental car already?
No,
Oh,
I will when I drop off mine. Yeah, that'll be Monday.
what was the most coolest rental car you ever had?
Hmm. Man, my answer would have changed at a certain point. I think the one time that I got, because it was all they had, I got upgraded at no extra cost to it was a Jeep. Can't remember exactly what type, but I wanted to drive up to the mountains anyway, so I was in the perfect vehicle for it because it was winter.
I would
Yeah.
tell you the coolest rental car I ever had. It was in 2007. We went to Detroit. Me and my dad. We went to a conference, a business conference in Detroit, Michigan, of all places. And Donald Trump was he was a keynote speaker, and this is way before he was in politics, of course. And I will say that was the coolest ever. I wish I had video back then, but I actually you've seen the picture. The picture I took of him, it was at that
Yeah.
conference. But anyways, we my dad, I love my dad, but anyways, my dad rented the car, and my dad is like, okay, I'll use this example before I talk about the car. I said, Dad, can you go to the store and get me Libby's Vienna sausage? Vienna sauce. I can't even say it now. Vienna sausage. And so my dad will come back with some off-brand from Walmart, like best value Vienna sausage, and it's like, well, Dad, what the heck is this? And he's like, oh, it's on sale. Well, it's like 49 cents. Like, Dad, this is not the same. He's like, it's all made in the same place. They just changed the labels. I'm like, no, Dad. So, anyways, let's get to the rental car.
This sounds like me.
Bro, no. I'm telling you, it's not the same. So we get the rental car. I said, Dad, what car did you get? Oh, I got the I think it was a Chevy Sprint. I'm like, I mean, well, what kind of car is it, Dad? Oh, it's the same as all the other ones. You know, it's just it's a little bit smaller. I said, no, no, Dad. So after we got into the car, I'm like, "Ah, okay, I'll work with it. I think they call these cars K cars. I think that's what they call them, because they're shaped like a K.
I know exactly what that is because my best friend when I was in school, she had one.
So they're designed to be economical. They're designed to be easy to park, easy to drive. They're just easy cars all around, and they actually have a high ceiling. So the perfect example of a K car would be like the smart cars, the ones that Mercedes owns. They own this company called Smart Car, and it's a super. Oh my, I can't even talk. A super short car, but it's got a
Yeah.
high ceiling. So if you're like 6'5", you can fit in it.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's what we rented. Not that car, but it was a Chevy, I think Chevy Sprint or a Veo. I forget which one it was. And I'm on this freeway in Detroit, Michigan. Bro, I kid you not. From the airport to the hotel, I am flooring it. Like, I have the pedal to the floor. And this car, the engine is like, I'm like, but cars are passing me left and right, like, vroom, vroom, vroom. I'm like, oh my God, Dad, I don't know why we rented this car because I'm trying to keep up. I was going 70 miles an hour. I was flooring it. I couldn't go any faster. And in Hawaii, that's fast, but not in Detroit, Michigan. You know who was passing me, bro? I had these old ladies, bro. They're like driving these like Dodge Caravans, and this one lady pulled up next to me, bro. I kid you not. She looked at me. She she stared at me. She stuck her middle finger, and then she just sped right past me. And I was like, "Oh my God, these people are, bro, they're rugged." And what happened was, I was trying to get over into the slow lane because I was in a passing lane, and I couldn't because everybody was passing me, and I kept, yeah. So I don't know why we're talking about that. Oh, rental cars.
Rental car.
Yeah. So that was that's my story. Like, that was my rental car story. That was by far the coolest. I mean, I've had so many rental car stories, but that's one of the funniest ones. But
I bet I've had a rental car longer than most people.
oh,
The longest I had one, I was not paying for it because, again, it was something that was not my fault. My car was in the shop at the dealership, And I had a same as new warranty on that pre-owned vehicle. And every time I needed to utilize that, it was a big runaround. So 2 months of trying to fix this problem with my car, that dealership had to pay for it. They had to pay for that rental car. Yeah.
Wow. I don't think I've had one. I think the longest I've had one was maybe 2 weeks. I think that's the longest. No, I take that back. Wow, yeah. So when we were in Oregon, when we moved out here, our cars were being shipped. Our cars being shipped. Oh, this is so funny. This is actually a good one. It's not even a cool car. Well, so when we moved out here, we needed a big car because I had to pick up our dogs from Kalama, Washington. So our dogs shipped out before we did. And so they stayed at a boarding service. Well, anyways, I had to get the only thing we could get was like a Ford Expedition XL super premium fancy whatever, had like 10 sunroofs and like 5,000 windows with like, power everything. And
did it have an elevator?
yeah. And so I didn't know this correlation. Okay. But load the dogs up, drive to Oregon. And I'm like, everybody's giving me these looks like, why are they looking at me like this? I'm thinking, is it because I'm like brown? Like, no, it can't be because I'm brown, because there's brown people here. And I literally thought, wow, they don't like me. Well, I get out of the car, put everything in the house, and I'm thinking, man, what's the problem? Then I look at my license plate and it says California. And then I'm like, that's what it is, and I figured out. So what one of the locals was like, hey, and I'm paraphrasing for me, but like, he's hey, brother, you got to get rid of that license plate. So I'm like, it's not my car, it's a rental. And I kid you not. So we had to get another one because the windshield was cracked because a rock hit it. So we got another rental car. Same thing, California license plate. I'm like, bro, what the heck? So I think it was 3 weeks straight we had a rental car that had California license plate. Now, the funny part, though, I will say, is that one time my wife was like, honey, watch how you driving. You cannot drive like that. And I'm like, honey, it's okay. We'll be fine because we have a California license plate. They'll understand. So they were like, my wife was like, honey, no, that's not how. No, don't worry, honey. We'll be fine. I get the California license plate. So that's my rental. I have a few more rental car stories, but yeah. Actually, speaking of California, I'll share this last one and we'll jump ship. But so we had a crew, what year was that? I think it was 2000. So we had another conference in Anaheim. So we had a conference at the Anaheim Convention Center. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I used to go there. Yeah.
So I don't think Donald Trump was at that one. I think it was somebody else. I think it was John Maxwell. Yeah, it was John Maxwell speaking at that one. And so we had a crew from Hawaii. We had a bunch of young kids. No, I say kids, but they were in their 20s. And so we rented a 15-passenger van. And so, because we wanted everybody to be together. And we were all, they were all under our company. And so I remember going on, I don't even know what freeway. It's in LA. It's the one where Capitol Records is. What freeway is that? I don't even know what freeway that is. I don't even know.
I'm not sure. I mean, I lived by the 110, which runs north and south. That runs into LA.
That's probably the one. So I remember.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just going with traffic, and I feel like, man, this van is really bouncing a lot. I'm thinking, man, what's going on? Like, I'm just keeping up with everybody. I'm going 95 miles an hour in a 15-passenger van with like 12 people in it. Half of them are sleeping. And I'm just flying it. I didn't even realize I'm just going so fast, like 95 miles an hour on this freeway. And there's like 5 or 6 of us all going the same speed. We're not racing or anything. We're just cruising it. And in the distance, in front of me, I see these yellow lights flashing. And the car is slowing down even more and more. I'm like, dude, what the heck are you doing? Bruh, was a highway patrol. And so what he was doing was he put on his hazards or the yellow flashers
Yep.
and he made everybody slow down to the proper speed.
Yep.
And
Zigzagged.
I will never forget that. I was like, wow, this guy could have pulled us all over if he really wanted to, but he decided to just control the traffic. He made us all slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought,
And I'll tell you, that's that kind of speed is a pretty ugly ticket.
yeah. Well, the thing is, everybody was driving it, so it didn't seem like we were speeding until like I said, until we hit this one bump. I'm like,
Yeah.
why is this van bouncing? So the van was bouncing.
So the thing is, in California, we have flow of traffic, which, while it's not an actual law, that's kind of how they treat the situation. So let's say the speed limit is 75. If every car on the road is going 85, they're generally not going to do anything about it because it would be unsafe for someone to drop down to 75 in those conditions, you know?
Well, so my family who are retired police officers, they'll say the same thing, right? And so if they're sitting on the side of the road, however, and nobody slows down, they're going to start pulling people over. Now, if people slow down,
Yeah.
then they're like, okay, we get it. And you know what's funny, Tala? I'll say this. In Portland, everybody thinks Portland's crazy and nuts, the traffic. Well, not really. Like, the traffic in Hawaii is a lot worse than Portland. However, when I go to Gresham, Oregon, which is literally 10 to 15 minutes outside of the city of Portland, bruh, for anybody that's listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you live in Gresham, in the city of Gresham, what the heck, bruh? You guys drive nuts. I'm not even kidding. These guys run red lights. They speed 65 and a 35. Like, we literally, I had my family the other day. We're driving through, and we literally witnessed 6 potential accidents almost happen in a matter of 10 minutes. It was nuts.
Jeez.
But you know what it was? If I was a cop, it would be my fault because there's a culture that they allow to happen. So it's like what you said, right? If there's a flow of traffic, it's understood that the cops are okay with that. In Gresham, it's understood that they can drive like that and get away with it.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like, I kid you not. That's unfortunately that's where I saw the shooting as well. That's where I was.
Oh, yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a culture there.
Yeah. I got a culture here in San Bernardino now, too.
Well,
It just keeps getting worse.
culture is a magical word, and I think we can segue back into the original topic. But culture, how would you define culture when it comes to social networks or social? What are we talking about? Social. What do we call these social platforms? How important would you say
social media.
culture is when it comes to?
Well, the thing is, okay, my brother and I have talked about this in the past. He mentioned before that our family has its own culture. Families have cultures. I hadn't heard too many people say that before, but Dr. Heath mentioned it recently, and I was like, yeah, I've heard this before. My family is small, so we're very aware that, we have a distinctive family culture that just doesn't mesh much of anywhere else outside of the few of us that are left. So I think you get the same thing when you cultivate an inner circle of friends or acquaintances, whatever you want to call them, on a platform like this one. Um, you spend time in the same groups, having conversations about the same topics, and you will start to repeat things that other people have said. That's natural. Nothing wrong with that. So I think that's how that happens, whether it's a family or friends or on a platform.
I totally agree. And that topic of culture, I'm trying to remember the reference, and it's in regards to culture. We were talking about the police officers earlier, and the idea of with Elon and the culture that's set on this platform, the fact that a lot of these things and issues that we talked about are happening, at the end of the day, or even at the beginning of the day, the responsibility falls upon him. The way things are run on this platform will always point back to him. And the culture. My daughter's making yogurt tonight, or I forget. And
very cool.
yeah, homemade yogurt. And if she gets the culture wrong, gotta throw everything out.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And I think we're at that place in we're talking about Twitter tonight, or X. There's a culture that's happening, and I think part of it is that they've got their eyes set beyond the horizon, but they don't have their hands on the wheel, which is scary.
Yeah.
And the people that do have their hands at the wheel, they think they have the authority to make this ship go wherever they want it to. Hence, engagement farming, ad revenue sharing, metrics that are glamour in nature. And so, I don't know. I'm hoping that he does clarify what he wants in terms of the definitions of engagement farming.
Yeah. I mean, even though we've pretty well defined the difference between what is and isn't allowed, what he's really saying, yeah, I don't know. I think that there needs to be a little bit more clarity too. That's I don't know how else to say it. It's not transparent enough. Yeah.
Have you ever been approached by anybody that solicited you to use their services?
For stuff online?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think I at least I think everybody gets those things of, thousands of followers, thousands of real followers, however they want to advertise it. I've never been interested in any of those things. Engagement as well. Yeah, I think I've seen some of that. Instagram and X both. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Instagram's got a lot for sure.
Yeah.
But even I think I shared one with you, but there's some people that they'll charge you in excess of, $400, $500.
Yeah.
Just to get your post noticed and get people to like it, engage, whatever, to repost it, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen anything like that, but anything that they could possibly slap a price tag on, I know they've done it.
And by the way, before I forget, tomorrow, I think it's, what is today? Friday. So tomorrow at, I think, 10 a.m. Pacific, I'm going to be helping Dr. Heath with, I can't even remember the name of it. It's just, whatever Dr. Heath asks me, and if I'm available, I'll do it. So we're doing a space on war stories, I think. Let me look it up before I butcher it. What the heck? So for those of you that are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, there is a, I'll find it. There is a podcast style format on Twitter where you can just talk with a bunch of people, cover amazing topics. And so here's what we're going to be doing tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, which is Spaces hosts success stories, top tips, and tales of terror. So it'll be Dr. Heath and myself, and I think TMR or the Mental Reboot, we're going to share best practices on how to be not just a Spaces host, but also cover, success stories, best practices, and also, of course, horror stories as well. So that'll be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard, which will be, I don't know, do the math. I think it's like 1 o'clock.
It'll be a different time in other time zones.
Yeah, do the math, whatever. You guys can figure it out.
You remember Chicago Jim always gets mad when people don't say the mountain time, I guess it is.
I didn't know that. Isn't he supposed to be? He's supposed to be live tonight, if I'm not mistaken. I thought he was.
Normally he's on Wednesday, but maybe he changed the night. I remember seeing that there wasn't one on his usual night. Yeah.
So, oh yeah, he had some. I think some dental
Well, yeah,
transgressions.
he's got something doing with that. Yeah, I don't see him on, so I don't know what night he was. Maybe he just didn't do one this week.
And by way of Twitter, do you see there's a beta version of Explore? Do you have that on your device?
Mm, I'm not sure.
So
Beta.
it's a beta. It's weird. So there's an Explore tab on Twitter X, and it says it's beta, and it says to Explore. So it's got like, I think they're playing around with what's the word, articles. So in my news, so it's like a news feed, and it shows man ignites himself at Trump trial. There's different stories. It
Oh,
shows,
I think I saw that earlier.
yeah.
Huh.
I think they're playing around with news feeds and kind of trying to make it more. I don't know what they're trying to do, but
Yeah. And yeah. I mean, I don't go looking for news stories. It's the reason I don't have television. I don't want to see news broadcasts, you know? So for me, it's something that if I see that, I'll be looking for a feature to silence it somehow.
I'll read this one story, and then we'll go back to our original topic. We can probably land the plane. Mark E. Jupert. You ever heard of that guy?
Doesn't sound familiar.
So he's got a baby. The baby is named Gus. It's all over Twitter. It's called Baby Gus. And man, Baby Gus has been at the hospital for 137 days. And I think they almost lost him several times. But they have I don't know what what is nephrology? Do you know what
Kidneys.
that? Okay. So obviously something with the kidneys. He was intubated for a little while. He had, poor kid, newborn baby.
That's a lot. That's a
Yeah.
lot to start out life with.
Yeah. But I'll share it out on my feed just so people can see it. Share the space. There it is. So for anybody that's listening on audio only, there's a baby called, his name is Gus. He's been fighting for his life forever. Like, I say forever, but so that's him. I don't follow the guy, but I do follow the story, which is another topic. I don't follow you, so don't follow me. But hey, how you doing on time, Tala? Just curious. I'm just doing this for fun, so you good?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Tala, do you follow me?
You were one of the first people I followed in Periscope. And I've been with you ever since. It's been 8 years.
So I'll be honest, I unfollowed you several times.
Why?
No, you see how that triggers an emotion? Isn't that crazy?
Okay,
Guys,
but it wouldn't if you weren't my friend.
No. See, you're already pulling the trigger on the bullets. You don't know what the bullets are firing for. Check
No,
this
I'm
out.
curious.
No, you see, family. You see how that triggers emotion? Like, and I'm not saying I'm not speaking for Todd, but isn't that crazy? You immediately like, wait, why? But wait, no. So I went live. I'm on Dora. I'll come back to it. I went live on Instagram today, right? And I loved it. It was so fun to go live on Instagram because all the people that I love, family and friends, I got a chance to talk to them today.
Yeah.
Because they don't come on Twitter. They're like, I don't get Twitter. And that's so funny because people on Twitter are like, oh, there's only Twitter. Twitter is king. Like, no. But it's like, I felt so good to go live on Twitter. And you know who was live on on X with me? I mean, what the heck? Instagram? Bro.
Well, you see why I was using that for my broadcast in the interim before they fixed it here.
Well, yeah, they fixed it, but man,
Sort of.
these viewership things are always an issue. But Larry, Airboy88 was live, and I'm like, oh, what's up, Larry? I said, bro, hey, hold on. So I told my boys, hey, Makakoi, get in, come over here, come say hi to Uncle Larry, because he never see you long time, and it felt so good for my boys to, to be able to engage with him. And so, anyways, going back to the story, I promise I'll connect the dots. Larry, when I seen him, my emotions went high. And, we had our differences over the years, and we're not blood related, but he's my family. Even though we had our and even to this day, we will never be the same as what we used to be. And we know we got older, we got kids and families. We had arguments and like really serious arguments, where I had to actually, make things right and go out there. And so, but all said and done, he's family. So anyways, he's the one that unfollowed me multiple times.
Jeez.
Yeah. But it's not what you think though. He unfollowed me because he would refollow me and put me at the top of the people that he follows. So whenever he would go live, he would say, "Hey, what's up, family? Hey, if you guys know who," he would promote me, right? And he would says, "If you just go to my follow list, the first person you see, that's the one you want to follow."
Oh, yeah, okay. That's how he was doing that. I remember him saying that.
He's the person where I learned that. And see, I didn't share that with people on Twitter just yet, because I like how someone getting triggered already. And it's funny because you saw my latest picture that I posted. It had the 3, charts and whatever. And
I'm trying to remember.
So the truth is, no, it's the one we have. It's called Twitter Circle.
Oh yeah, the circles.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say who, because you can find out. One person goes, "Oh, I see that I'm not on your list now," and then the other one's like, "And you don't even follow me." I'm like, that's exactly why I did it, because it's not so much that So part of my justification is what you said is, look, if you're not going to be on this platform, I'm going to assume maybe you don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it anymore, it's a possibility that you don't have control over your account.
Yeah.
And if that's true, that means I'm following an account that potentially may have spam bots, engagement bots. So it's actually, I learned that from you, Tala. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to unfollow them. It's not a big deal, like, because they haven't been engaging. So maybe they don't actually even use it anymore. And kind of find out they're all responding, "Oh, you don't follow me." And I'm going to talk about Maria because, she's a big girl. She can take it. But Maria's like, "And he doesn't even follow me." And I'm like, "Yes, I don't." But I said, what I told Maria? I said, "Look, hey, I don't follow you, but look, you're still in my circle. So that proves, just because I don't follow you, that doesn't mean I don't like your content. I actually do like your content. I just don't want to follow you. And it should be okay." Like if I told Tala, "Hey, Tala, I'm not going to follow you anymore," immediately like, "Wait a minute, you don't like me?" No, it's not that. Maybe I just don't like your content. You know what I mean? So, but.
Well, see, but I would know it could be something like that. And like I said, if it's somebody that I don't have any personal connection with, it's like, okay. But if it's a friend, then yeah, I will ask the question like, okay, what happened?
Well, Maria, she said, "I don't even follow my own husband," which I said, that's funny. And I said, I respect that. I was like, okay, I respect that. And so here's the funny thing. I follow my wife, and it's not because my wife doesn't even post any content. All she does is repost my content. She probably posts 5 times a year, if even that. So everything else is reposts or reshares. And anyways, connecting the dots. Larry Airbro 808 is my number 1 guy on my follow list. He's my number 1. He's the first guy that I follow. And I would never unfollow him unless something happens by accident.
Yeah.
And it's not because he hasn't posted. I don't think he even likes Twitter anymore. I don't know. And
I haven't seen him. Yeah.
So, people get so triggered about that. But the truth is, I actually consume content of people that I don't even follow. I actually have a list of people that I like, or things that I like, or interests, and I'll consume it. So I think you said it, or I don't know who said it. They said that I don't need you to follow me to feel validated. I think maybe I said that. I can't remember. But
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Did you say that?
I think I remember we were talking about that, and it was something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm gonna call out those people again because I feel like picking on them. if you have 76,000 followers or 50,000, why are you following 30,000? I'm going to ask that question again.
You'll never be able to have. You can't engage with that many people. You can't.
But I would like to hear someone's response to that. Because I know why I follow 3,000. And I'll be honest with you, this is why I follow 3,000. Is because I felt like I needed to. I felt like I needed to follow them so they would feel like they're wanted or needed, that I cared about them. And the truth is, I don't need to do that in order if they feel like, if they need me to follow them in order for them to be validated, like, I'm not helping them by following them. That's my take on it. But I may be wrong. Like, I don't want to.
I think there may be a time and a place for it.
Yeah, I think you said that. Like, if they're a new person, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, there's a time and a place for it, because maybe somebody is starting out and they don't feel like they know anybody or have any connections or anything like that. You know what I mean? I was new to Periscope when I met you, and you were one of the first people to just respond to something that I said by saying, you know what, I'm going to follow you back. So, that actually did mean a lot to me at the time. Yeah.
I think in that instance, I agree. And maybe I've changed I'm going to use the big words here, as a content creator. Maybe I've changed to a place where, I'm going to sound bad for this, but maybe I don't have the time and energy to be in that capacity, because I'm really passionate about creating versus consuming.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the community comes in for me, the community pages, is that it gives me a team or an outlet to help in that area, what we're talking about. Like, hey, if you guys need help, join this community. We'll try to support you as much as possible. But the people that I follow personally, I'm trying to limit that as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's like, well, it's not hard. I mean, life is hard. Raising kids is hard. Social media is not hard at all. But it's when someone says, "Oh, you don't like me anymore," I said, "No, I didn't say I didn't like you. I just don't follow you. You don't." And actually, this is one guy. I won't say his name, because he's been following him. I've been following him for like 8 years, and I messaged him the other day. I'm like, "Hey, I'm just checking in. Is this really you?" And then he responds me, "Yeah, it's really me." And I'm like, and I'm paraphrasing. So I'm like, dude, what the heck? You're posting and reposting all kinds of weird stuff. I was like, what? I don't understand. What are you reposting, dude? Like, I don't even agree with a lot of this stuff. Like, and it's totally off topic to who your media profile looks like. It was just weird. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's an actual fake person that's trying to pretend that they're still that real person. I don't know.
I've seen that happen, and that's why it was so difficult sorting out whether we were talking to Chris or not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I'm so glad that I pursued that one, because, wow, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that he picked up his phone.
Yeah.
That was cool. And I know we've talked a couple of times over the years, but that was the first time we talked in years. And I think that's so cool that he picked up, and he still, we still text. And I think that's cool. And I know you met him, right? I've never met him organically.
I never got to meet him. Yeah. He's in the Bay Area, and I was already back in Southern California when I joined Periscope. Yeah.
I know Joey. So for those of you that don't know Chris, we're talking about this guy named Chris. He was an engineer at Twitter. He was one of the vital pieces of the live streaming platform called Periscope. And then Joey, who is a friend of mine, was also an engineer at Twitter. He was he's not public about what he did, but I can say that he was definitely an amazing employee at Twitter. I think he was a contract worker for a while. That's how I know about some of these things that I blab about, which I probably shouldn't say, but I do know for a fact, and it's public information. that
Yeah.
Twitter, I don't know about Elon. I have a feeling it's the same, but Twitter, the majority of a lot of the employees that they had at one point were independent contractors, meaning they didn't have all the benefits of employees, but they did the work as employees. So that's how Elon was able to fire that many people technically and not feel too bad about it. I mean, I'm sure he felt bad in the sense that people lost their jobs, but they were non-essential based upon the profitability of the platform.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm triggering some former employees, but I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. But it's my show, and I can say whatever I want, and I'm saying it hopefully as tactfully as possible. So, anyways,
Free speech.
well, yeah. So going back to Chris, and so Chris was an amazing engineer. He was, I'm not gonna say he was. He is a pretty amazing engineer and musician too, right? He's he writes music too, which it was pretty good at it.
Somebody mentioned that, and it was something that I didn't know. So I guess so.
Yeah, he had a company called Hat Tricks. He had a profile on. I'll look it up right now. It was called Hat Tricks. Let me look it up. I think I unfollowed him too. I unfollowed Hat Tricks. I still follow Chris, but let me look at Hat
Yeah.
Tricks. I don't know. This new search feature on X is not. Oh yeah, here we go. He follows me, but I unfollowed him. Here we go. I'll put it up. So this is Chris right here. Hat Tricks. It's Hat Tricks Music. I think I put it up.
It takes a minute for it to show up. There it is.
Yeah, that's him. No,
How did I not know that?
You know what? I'm gonna.
This account is following me. I don't think I knew who it was. That's why.
That's him.
How long has this been following me? Jeez Louise, follow back. Okay.
And he's got another account. If you look right below that, if you look at the profile,
Yeah.
it's Hat Trick Hans. So apparently he's a comedian too. There's another account, and he follows me too. What the heck? He's got so many accounts. This guy. I tell you what, I'm gonna follow him.
Who would do a thing like that? A bunch of accounts? I'm shocked.
Who's that red dude in the Glow Sessions? That impersonator? I tell you. Hey,
No, you may not remember how many accounts I had.
I have 4, but the other 3 I think are well, they're inactive, and I think they're taken over by somebody else. So I have Gilo 75. I could still
access all mine if I wanted to. I had a bunch. I had more accounts in Periscope than people realize.
Well, I unfollowed you. I think I did the Squirrel Ninja one.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. I think Squirrel Ninja. Oh, I can't find it. Wait, where is it? Well, what is the username on that one? Squirrel Ninja.
I think that's, and it's been a while. No, it's got squirrels.
Oh, is it Ninja Squirrel? I forget.
It's got squirrels with a Z. You remember the title you gave me? It's on there.
I don't even remember, bro. What was the title?
Director.
Yeah.
Director of Glohana Squirrel Technology.
That's right. You know how the family, we're bouncing around. So if you're on a podcast, thank you for just hanging out. But you're good on time, right? I'll take that.
I had to cough.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'm gonna play an ad just for fun. I think this is the one. So this for our family. If you're joining me for the first time, my name is Brother Greg, aka the real Greg Lopez, also known as Gilo. If you're a friend or family, Brother Greg is fine. And if you're listening to Elsa's talking, that's Tala Smith on socials. Her platforms are all the same. I think it's Tala_no excuses, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to play a quick ad. We'll be right back in about 40 seconds. One of my product sponsors, Archon Mounts. Ho, ho, ho. Yes. What's up, family? Bro, are you using your cell phone without a tripod? Brother, go to archon.com. That's ARKON.com. Get your hands on a sturdy, robust tripod. Whether you are on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and you are a content creator, or maybe you're just a weekend warrior like myself, taking those photos, well, get yourself a tripod from Archon Mounts. Be sure that when you go to checkout, put in Hawaii as a promo code and you'll get 20% off your entire order. That's HAWAII at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Go to archon.com. We're keeping your devices within reach. Everything from tripods to any equipment you need for your cameras, cell phones, iPads, all that good stuff. Go to archon.com, ARKON.com. Don't forget my promo code Hawaii for 20% off your entire order. So do you really eat sushi only 3-4 times a year? Is that true, Tala?
When I'm able to get to the Mitsuo Market in Torrance, if I'm visiting my family, I can get fish that is of the quality that you can eat it raw. So I pick up sashimi when I'm there. But that's maybe once or twice a year. And as far as going out, usually it's only birthdays, and then hopefully one other time. Yeah. So it's not often. We just can't afford it, you know?
Oh, I feel you on that. But so after we came off the mountain, my wife and I, so my wife was ready in the car. I'm like, bro, what the heck? These cheaters. It was in the car with the heater going. And so I'm like, I said, okay, because we've been eating on every night this week. And I'm like, I want to eat a home cooked meal, you know? I want to eat something that's like healthy, organic, whatever. Like I want to, so anyways, instead of, we're supposed to come home, but we ate Mexican food. So I'm like, I said, what about sushi? And she goes, nope, we've already hit our limit. And I'm like, what? And then I said, oh, I get it. She's like,
there's a limit?
No. She said, we already ate twice this month. I said, oh, you was listening to my live stream, because I said, yeah, if we don't eat at least twice a month, but we will go into depression. And we were laughing, you know, because back home, of course, because we have it every day. Every day we eat something raw fish, sushi. Yeah. No, it's still expensive back home, but
yeah,
they don't really have good sushi here. It's hard to find, but yeah, but I will say tonight though,
it's not the same. I know
we saved a lot of money tonight because we ate at this Mexican food truck. My son, because of all of his allergies, he just stays away from all that stuff and he goes to pizza instead. So there's this pizza food, whatever you call it. It's a pizza food truck. Anyway, so his was like, so my wife goes, how much was this pizza? I said, I really don't know. I just know that I'm kind of embarrassed to say I don't even remember, because I just gave my card, and I think it was like $25 total, you know, with a drink and stuff. And so the Mexican food was like, I remember, I think it was like $60 or something. And
wow.
I'm like, oh, bro, we saved money tonight. Because normally for us, just to start to eat, I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. If we eat out, we start at 120, right?
Yeah.
And that's not including tip. So, I mean,
because there's how many of you with you and the kids?
Well, for us it's 5, but
yeah,
they don't eat like kids. You know what I mean? Like my young, no, I'm not even kidding. My youngest son, bro, he can eat, bro. He's that Polynesian comes out. Oh my goodness, he can. What? So we had this Mexican restaurant a couple of weeks ago. He had this burrito, like legit like the owner of this restaurant. It's a Mexican family, and they have 8 or 9 restaurants. So the food is, I think, authentic. But my son's burrito was like the size of a football. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, looking at my son. Actually, I didn't post a video of it. I'm like, oh, son. And of course, he don't eat the beans. He doesn't eat the rice. Like, he just eats the burrito. But that thing was like the size of a football. And he ate it all. And I'm like, he was still hungry. I'm like, bro,
where did they put it all?
I don't know. But yeah.
I can't eat like that. I really can't.
How do we get to we're talking about sushi. Yeah. So Sushi.
Yeah, how do we go from sushi to
I
burritos?
don't know. Hey, so your number one sushi, what would it be?
Which fish?
Okay, top three. We'll do top three. What are your top three?
Yeah, that's hard. Okay, so I'm really I would have to say Ono. Escolar. Yeah, Ono.
Wait. What?
I
No,
like
no, no, no,
Ono.
no, brother. I'm telling. Okay, so I have. You know,
I mean, I would say bluefin, but I know how you feel about that.
no, 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 no. Let me tell you something. Listen, Linda. Listen. You ever heard that term, Linda? Listen, Linda.
Yes.
Oh, that's such a funny video. Anyways, so I have a very good friend of mine. So he used to be the chef for the Wynn guy, the guy who owns all the Wynn hotels in Vegas.
Oh yeah,
And
those are
yeah,
yeah.
and then he was a chef for the personal chef for Simon Cowell, the American Idol guy.
Wow.
And then we met in Hawaii, and so every time he would come out, he would always order a lot of food, and he would I would help him in the kitchen, just for fun. And then he would give me samples of stuff, and he was telling me, if there's one fish you don't eat, he says, don't eat Escolar. And I said, what the heck is Escolar? He goes, the restaurants in the mainland, they're lying to customers, telling them it's white tuna. And I'm like, what the heck is white tuna? He says, and my friend's a chef now, so he knows what he's talking about. He's a sushi chef. And he was like, they'll market it as white tuna. It's super fatty. He says, it's good, but you cannot eat more than, he said, whatever, I think it's 4 ounces. If you eat more than 4 ounces, it's been known to give you IBS. And I'm like, what? And so I looked it up, and it's a very fatty fish, the Escolar. So I don't know how much you eat, but I don't know, maybe it was an inflated story. So I have this innate
Yeah, I've
fear
never
of,
had any issues with the stuff.
you must be, you're not Tala first light, you are Tala iron stomach, bro.
No, I'm really not. Yeah, I
Okay,
have to be
so
very careful.
so Escolar is your number one. What's your number two?
Yeah, bluefin. But I mean, it's pricey and I understand there are issues with it. I mean, but honestly, what I will gravitate towards first most of the time, if I'm resupplying from the Mitsuya market, I'm looking for the salmon. I like raw salmon.
And you know
Yeah.
what? West Coast salmon, bro, legit. Like,
Yeah.
because you get it quicker. So Hawaii salmon is good, but it still has to fly on a plane or it arrives on a ship. So it takes a while for it to get to Hawaii.
It's interesting because that market has fish from various sources and they do label it very plainly. It'll say from Spain or Scotland or wherever, the various ones are coming from.
You know who's
And
tricking everybody? It's China.
yeah.
So to all of my listeners, I don't care what platform you're on, go to your market tomorrow. Go to the fish section. Look at the salmon, and if it says Pacific salmon, don't buy it. Because I can almost guarantee you with a 99.0% certainty that it's not the salmon you think it is.
Yeah.
Because if they have to say Pacific salmon, think hard, brother. Because you look at the bottom, it'll tell you product of China.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the heck? Because everybody thinks salmon, it must be from Washington, Oregon, Pacific Northwest. No, because now China's a huge player in this salmon market. So,
And I don't eat tilapia or swai because that's where that's coming from and those fish eat garbage.
well, you know what? Swai is catfish.
Yeah. A
Yeah,
type, yeah.
yeah. They just
Well,
call
and
it swai.
I've labeled catfish and yeah. There's a lot of screwy definitions.
Well, you look at the picture of a swai, and you're like, wait a minute, that's a catfish. These guys, these sneaky buggers. And actually, a lot of the swai comes from not just China, but some of the other countries. I think India, Thai, or forget, not Thai,
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
where they have a lot of those farms in Southeast Asia.
That's the thing. There's questions about how healthy the fish are from the farms. Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody that is jumping in for the lurkers out in the lobby, and you're just listening, what do they call that? What do they call those people? The anonymous listeners. Is that what you call that?
Anonymous, yeah.
Yeah. We're not doing a bait and switch. We did talk about the topic, but we are talking about farming now, just not engagement. So number 2 is bluefin. Is that what you said? No, salmon. Which one did you say?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a toss-up between Ono and bluefin as far as the one that I think has the best flavor. But yeah, most of the time, I'm gonna go for the salmon. That's
Now
a little bit more affordable, but I really love raw salmon. Like, I don't like salmon cooked.
I don't like any fish cooked unless it's in Hawaii it's a fish called uhu, which is it's basically a parrotfish, and that steamed is amazing. Steamed, and then what you do is you steam it in an oven. You put fresh ginger, green onion. I think that's it. Real simple. And then after you steam it, you pour this boiling hot oil with shoyu or soy sauce over it, and you just let it drizzle, and it sizzles. It
sounds amazing.
Oh, it's good. It's a Chinese style. That's how the Chinese cook it, actually.
Oh man.
But that's the only cooked fish. But salmon is good raw. I just don't like the texture. I don't like all that sinew, like all those white lines. I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you get a good cut of it, that's not really a problem. It just depends. I kind of look through the packages and see which ones look like they're going to be. Yeah. And I know you don't like to put lemon juice because it does you said cooks it. That's not exactly what it is. It's not curing, is it?
I know the word. It's
cure?
Not metabolizes it. There's a word for it. Hold on, let me ask Google.
Yeah, but there's different types of processing. So there's cooking, there's curing, there's smoking. Smoking is a type of curing.
But lemon does something. Word. Let's talk to Google. Hey Google, what does lemon juice do to fish?
On the website SeriousEats.com, they say, as the pieces of fish sit in the marinade, the citric acid from the juice slowly causes the flesh's proteins to denature, in very much the same way that heating will. The result is raw fish with the opaque appearance and firm texture of cooked fish.
So denature, that's not even the word I was looking for, but denature.
Yeah. So the thing is, if I'm gonna eat salmon with lemon juice, the lemon juice goes on right before I eat it, so it doesn't do anything weird to the texture. Yeah.
I think what it does, it changes the texture for me. That's what it does.
Yeah.
I like my fish.
But I mean, it's got to sit for a little bit to do that, right?
Yeah. Now, I do like citrus in my soy sauce, depending on the type of fish. Now, you know who likes lemon juice in their raw fish is a lot of the Micronesians. Some of the Tahitians, they'll mix their raw fish in a coconut milk with lemon juice and some other seasonings, and they'll mix it. Like, I don't like that, but it's actually tasty. It's actually very good. I just don't like the texture. It's a texture thing for me.
That's strange. But yeah, for me, salmon with just a little bit of lemon juice and soy sauce is just amazing without anything else with it. Yeah.
Number 3, so I'm gonna say number 1 was your Escolar. That's strange. Would never have thought that. Number 2 was either salmon or bluefin, and then number 3, I guess, would be. We'll just put those top 3. My number 1 in terms of sashimi. I'm not even saying raw sushi, just raw fish. Hawaiian ahi. For those of you that don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Hawaiian ahi. So ahi is literally a tuna that's 100 pounds or more. If it's less than 100 pounds, it's called shibi. And so the equivalent to Hawaiian ahi outside of Hawaii would be the Japanese tuna, which goes, for $1 million when they sell it at auction. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine that at auction? The auction that's not even wholesale price. That's the auction price. Imagine at the wholesale price, it goes up because they got to make their
Oh,
money.
yeah.
And by the time it gets to the sushi restaurant, that's insane. So the equivalent to Hawaiian ahi is the tuna in Japan. And then the one in North Carolina, a lot of people know this. So the North Carolina tuna, I think is a bluefin, the big one. That one's is a prize. So if my number one would be any type of ahi or tuna that's of that caliber, number one. So my number one has three. So my number one would be Hawaii ahi, Japanese tuna, and then the North Carolina tuna. My number two, hands down, it's almost close to number one, is my hamachi. But straight up hamachi from Japan. And it sounds weird to say this, but it has to be the farmed. The farmed hamachi from Japan is legit.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. And then the collar. So if you have the hamachi collar, that's good too.
Yeah.
And then number three, it sounds biased, but if nobody has ever had Hawaiian snapper, it's the same as the Thai for the most part, the one that's in New Zealand. But something about the Hawaii snapper, when you sashimi, when you eat it raw, thinly sliced, oh my gosh, it's bro.
So I'm not sure where the snapper I've had was from, but I was just kind of, it didn't really impress me that much. So it's possible it was not from Hawaii.
The majority of snappers sold in most markets will be from New Zealand. The majority.
Yeah.
Or it'll come from like Southeast Asia waters, possibly.
Yeah.
But I know New Zealand has a big market for snapper. Huge market. Very huge market. So that's my top three.
And it's interesting too, because remember, like I said, in Northern California, I could not find decent Mexican food to save my life. But Northern and Southern California, there are different selections on the sushi menus. There are things that I can't get here. It's weird. Up north, I started out eating sushi with tobiko. We talked about that before.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find in a sushi restaurant here. I have to go to the Japanese market and specifically look for it. In a restaurant, they serve masago. And I actually prefer the flavor of tobiko.
Well, if you look at the ingredients when they buy it, when any restaurant, even in the market, if you buy it at the markets, it's never just the egg. There's always something in the mix. Even masago, even tobiko, they add
they color it, yeah.
Yeah, they color it and they put some stuff in it. I think masago more than tobiko.
It's usually salt.
Yeah, salt, and there's something else to put in it. Sometimes they'll add MSG, or there's another. I go look it up later, but and I'm fine with it because I like it. But I think with restaurants, even here, I think they just refuse to buy it because they don't want to spend the money.
Yeah,
and then I think it.
Well, because the tobiko is flying fish roe, so it's probably harder to come by.
Well, the majority of it's frozen anyway, unless you're, in Hawaii or in Japan. Like the majority of it's frozen. The problem is, I guess, as a business, as a restaurant, you don't know how to ration it, or to teach your employees how to ration, because it's expensive. It's very expensive. So it's a profit issue, and then. Let's be honest, a lot of the customers, just in general, they don't care. Like, they don't.
Some of them don't know. Yeah. Most of them don't know the difference.
And they don't even care. It's like, God forbid, in Hawaii, if you serve sashimi on a bed of ice, they'd be like, what the heck? Or let's say you put it on lettuce or cabbage. People are like, what are you doing? You always put raw fish on daikon.
Yeah.
Shredded daikon.
Yeah.
And that's when it's a Japanese thing, right? But and it's not that they can't buy it here, because there's a lot of daikon radish here. They prefer not to. I guess cabbage is cheaper, easier for that. I don't know. So, hey, what is do you have any upcoming spaces discussions? I know you do WTF with is it Nick? I keep forgetting his name.
Yes.
Nick, yeah.
Nick, his @ is right already. And in fact, that's going to be on Monday this next week. Yeah.
I thought it was on Wednesdays typically.
Well, it was, but he had to start moving the day around because of his work schedule. So it's been a floating day for a while.
And he's getting married, I think, right? That's public.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's been building up to the proposal for a while, and
Good for
just
him.
recently proposed. I don't know if you saw the photo. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. His wife is from Thailand, Vietnam. I forget.
She's Mongolian.
Mongolia.
Yeah, yeah. So they're having a civil ceremony, go to the courthouse, and then they're having a wedding in Mongolia with her family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Mongolia has an interesting history.
Yeah.
The Khan legacy.
Hmm.
You ever heard this legacy before?
Parts of it, yeah.
About the
We've
one,
talked about it
yeah, yeah,
actually in those spaces, yeah.
the 1 in 200. Did you hear that?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so.
So 1 in 200 men have the DNA of Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's a lot. He was productive.
He was very productive. Now, I don't know if that's 100% true because I don't know how you would validate it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they tested 1,000 men. I don't know. The other interesting story of the Mongolians is that I think we talked about this. You heard about the climate change and how the Mongolians were able to affect climate change?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. You were the one who talked about that before. The number of people he killed.
That's not even a conspiracy. That's a scientific fact.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, the conspiracy theory will be the amount of people he killed, possibly. But I think they all agree at the minimum he killed at least 40 million.
Yeah.
And some scientists believe, or scholars believe, he killed in excess of 60 million people. And
It's a staggering number.
well, not just that, right? The number's huge, but the fact that he did it in such a short period of time, like one soldier would have to kill 1,000 people in a day. I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say, when did they sleep?
I mean, it sounds funny, but it's like they would literally have to kill 1,000 people a day. I know my math is off, but it's something crazy like that. It's like, how do you kill that many people in that short amount of time?
Did they get a lunch break?
I mean, they didn't have nuclear bombs. Like, bro, they must have had bionic arrows that just killed 10 people with one shot. I don't know how they did it.
Well, you've seen 300, right?
Yeah.
Fight in the shade.
Well, what was I trying to get at? So, I had the thought, where did it go? It was regards to Mongolians killing. Well, whatever the thought was so for those that are listening, if you're like, well, what the heck are they talking about? So the Mongolians, we all know they were one of the most notorious empires in history. And the fact that I think it was Genghis Khan, because Kublai Khan was his son, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So Genghis Khan killed enough people on the planet to affect climate change, to actually reduce how many the big word? What's the big word? He reduced the carbon footprint of the planet?
Yeah, I think that's what they were saying about it. The carbon footprint.
So those
Wow.
those movies with Marvel, where we have what's the villain's name? Oh my gosh, Thanos. So
Oh, yeah.
Genghis Khan was a real life Thanos. I mean, he literally affected the world by killing 60 million people. Yeah.
I mean, it is impressive.
It's tragic and impressive, but the fact that he had the conviction to do that, yeah, that's insane.
It's, yeah. People don't really commit to much anymore, right?
Hey, let's
You
commit
know
to.
what I mean?
Can you imagine a
Think
board
about
meeting? Mr. Genghis, our climate is really it's going downhill. We got to figure something out. Okay, well let's get rid of 60 million people.
I've got an idea.
Yeah, I got an idea.
Well, I mean, the thing is, what was it? God, I gotta think now. I'm so tired. I gotta think what it was we were talking about earlier that tied into that, but it was about Yeah, people just don't have that kind of conviction. I know what it was. The pyramids. Did you and I talk about that or someone
It was
else?
probably somebody else.
Okay, so I had the school headmaster in my private school talked about how there's really no logical way to say that the pyramids were built with that kind of slave labor, right?
Okay.
And it had to be people who were united in their conviction about something they believed in.
Okay.
Yeah. So we don't really have people who will commit to stuff like that anymore.
So that with that thought process, that says who built the pyramids with that thought process?
Well, I think it's the same people that I don't think we're confused about who built them, but I think there's just some confusion about why. Like people assume that it was forced labor, slave labor. And what he was teaching us about was like, this is a pretty massive undertaking. There has to be some kind of belief in the people doing this work, or they're not gonna do this.
Yeah. Well, let's look at. Oh my God, I'm studying. I feel like Obama. So look at the United States, for example. We don't look at it as slavery per se. However, all the skyscrapers, all of the engineering that we have, there's a high, and this is probably stretching or reaching, but it's all been built by the 95%. Okay, so the 5%ers are
Yeah.
the ones that employ the people that built everything. Now, granted, some of the 95%ers, they make, $200,000, $300,000 a year, but they're still part of the 95%. They're still working for linear income. They're still employees being employed by the 5%ers to build the great cities.
Yeah.
Now, technically, they're not slaves. However, a lot of these 95%ers will never, ever have anything to leave for their kids generationally. Nothing. Now, with that thought process, you look at who built, let's just say, the great. I don't know why we look at it as so great. I'm sure it is great, but it's just, we can't fathom, well, there's no way they could have built. Well, let's remember, they didn't build the pyramids in like 12 months. It took 70, 80, 100 something years to build just one structure.
Yeah.
And on top of that, and I'm going to go from a biblical perspective, whether people believe that they were slave labor or not slave labor, one thing we do know from scripture is that some of the Hebrews, that the great exodus of Egypt, some of them didn't feel like they were slaves because they've been there for 400 years.
True.
So of course they're not going to feel like they're slaves. They had a job, they had food, they got paid. They might have got an occasional whipping here and then for not listening or not working hard enough, but they had everything they wanted. There were beautiful women there, exotic women. They had, if you were in a higher management position, maybe you got a chariot, maybe you got a horse. I don't know what they had, right? So some of them didn't feel like slaves. That's why a lot of them, when they left Egypt and they were in the middle of nowhere, they were complaining. Why did you bring us, right? They said to Moses, why did you bring us out here to die? We had everything in Egypt. So the way I look at it from a biblical perspective, they may be right. Maybe they weren't slaves in their mindset. But if you were there 400 years and the amount of people that left Egypt were 1 million people, Moses brought a million people out of Egypt.
Yeah.
1 million. So let me ask, so anybody that's going to challenge me on this, so if you don't believe that the Hebrews built a lot of the structures, well, who built it? I mean, who would you employ to build it? I wouldn't hire the 5%ers. I would hire the 95%. Who are the 95%ers? The Hebrews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
And, we talk about slavery in America. Well, slavery has been around forever.
Oh, yeah.
It's been around forever. It's not a skin color issue because white people enslaved white people.
Mm-hmm.
Polynesian people enslaved Polynesian people. our own people enslaved our own people. So it's not about the skin color. So I'm not sure if that's even, I don't know if, has anybody ever talked about that here on Twitter Spaces, what I just mentioned?
Yeah, actually, yeah, a couple of different conversations. I can't remember who though.
Well, I know one of the conversations I jumped in and I left immediately because I'm like, oh my God, no way. This is crazy. So one of the things was aliens, like aliens built. And I'm like, okay, I'll listen for a minute. And I literally listened for a minute. I'm like, I'm out of here. But I don't know. Like to say an alien, we must have an alien technology. The way I look at it, just my perspective, my biblical perspective, if I know the truth, and my truth is based on the Bible and the Word of God, and this is what I read, and when someone says something different, I look at that perspective as deceptive, lies, maybe ignorance, maybe they just don't know, or they choose not to, or there's an agenda behind it. I do know, just as a general rule, as a general perspective, if there is a truth, we do have a deceiver. Whatever culture, religion people believe in, there will always be someone that is a liar or deceiver. And for us, it's obviously the devil. If he can, the way I look at it, the devil doesn't have to get us to hate God or not, even believe in bloodthirsty devils or demons. If you just get us to divert from truth, not my truth, not Tala's truth, not what is your truth, but the truth, that's all he needs. And I don't know, to believe in weird, frivolous things like come on, dude. Like the pyramids are great, but I have to admit that America's built some pretty amazing things too, and we know where that came from. And even Rome, Roman culture, some of the most amazing structures in Rome, right? So
Absolutely.
I don't know how we bounced around we started with Nick getting married to a Mongolian. We went all the way to Egypt and to Rome. So
You're traveling the globe here.
yeah, I will say I'm very happy for Nick. That's cool. I remember following him, and I still follow him, by the way. And Nick, if you ever decide to listen, I'm still following you, and I like you. But man, what a great! And I have the picture up on our jumbotron. So he's going to get married via, what did you say? What's the word? Judge?
Civil ceremony. Just go to the courthouse. Yeah.
That's a great picture of him. I'm sure it was planned for the picture to be taken. That's cool. I love it.
Oh yeah, he had an entire plan that he did for the whole evening. It didn't end up where he intended. He kind of had to pivot for various reasons, but he put a lot of thought into it. I really have to commend him for that. And his level of humility was so amazing because he knows that she's as invested in the relationship as he is, and even leading up to it, being, none of us are thinking she would say no at all. And he's like, well, hopefully she'll say yes. And I'm like, why wouldn't she after all of this? I think that they have invested, both of them, into the relationship in all the right ways. I think it's beautiful.
Well, it's definitely well deserved. And so I'm not sure if you'll ever hear this, but Nick, congratulations. Love you, brother. I'm going to land the plane, or we're going to land the plane. And you know what I'm going to do, Tala? Because you've been out with me quite a bit of times. I want to make sure I get your graphic. So do me the graphic you have right now, that's okay to put up on our Spotify, Apple podcast graphics?
Oh yeah, my banner? Yeah.
Your banner or your profile picture?
Either one.
Okay. I'll put it up, and because it's going to be all over the place. Well, once I put it through Spotify, it'll be all over. So
yeah, use my profile picture, because I'm going to keep that one for a while. If I change it here, it puts me into review again, so I'm not messing with it.
So we'll close this out with our original topic, which is engagement farming. Here's the question. We'll talk about Elon, but let's talk about Elon, then we'll land it with the question, final question. So with Elon owning SpaceX, with Elon owning Tesla, with him owning Optimus, which is their robotics, he also owns I'm not sure. Yeah, let's just say he owns Neuralink, also Starlink. So that's 5 different technologies, and of course he owns media with X. So there are 6 things that he owns that control the planet. Let's start with the conversation with just X. Do you think he has a firm control over media with just X? That's probably,
Over all media?
I think that's probably a very broad, vague question. But do you think how about this? Do you think he has a good tool to pierce mainstream media with X, Twitter? I think he does.
I really do. I mean, it's got to be used the right way, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So he's got the information. Here's other. So he's got autonomous vehicles with Tesla, which, if enough people buy it, if he can't indoctrinate you with X or Twitter, he'll just indoctrinate your vehicle, make your vehicle drive you to the police station, and they'll arrest you. If that doesn't work, the Neuralink implant that he gave you, he'll try to, make you do stuff you're not supposed to. And if that doesn't work, he'll just shut down your internet because he has all these satellites in the sky. And
that's the scary part, right there.
Well, if he doesn't like you, he'll just make those satellites drop out of the sky and just bomb everybody with, I think he's got like 8,000 or 4,000, whatever, 4,000 satellites, just drop them on planet Earth. Or he'll just create a whole new, Terminator situation with all his Optimus robots, right? And if that doesn't work, the Neuralink doesn't work, the final straw he's got is, I got a bunch of rockets. Let's just bomb all the government buildings. So somebody told me, and we'll close it with this, somebody told me that.
Evil Elon.
Well, they said, so I forget who it was. I think I want to say it's Waylon. He said, Elon's a good guy. And I'm like, well, we better hope he is, because if he's not a good guy, he's got a lot of things at his fingertips.
Yes, that was in that broadcast that all 3 of us were on.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Right?
That was funny.
And everybody's concerned about, Zuckerberg, right? Well, we're worried about him. Like, he doesn't have rockets, and he doesn't have robots, and he doesn't have autonomous vehicles, and he doesn't have the Neuralink, which will literally make you punch yourself if you're not careful. So, okay, final question, and we'll close it out, is engagement farming. It's not even a direct question. What are your thoughts on engagement farming before we close it? What are your thoughts? Final thoughts?
I understand that the system kind of requires someone who wants ad revenue to do some form of that. But as we discussed, there are different forms of it. I feel like if somebody is employing bots, they're cheating the system in a way that I don't like it. Yeah.
Well, let's say there's no ad revenue involved. Let's just say they're doing it to increase viewership, and they're manipulating the platform. That typically is not healthy. So for anybody that doesn't know, my wife and I, back in 2005, we bought our first home. 2005, right after we got married. We were involved in a real estate company. It wasn't just me and wife. We had a team of people. There was about 30 of us. My parents were involved. And through this team of people, it was the most amazing time in my life. We learned so much. Financially we were good. But what we learned was, and my mom and dad had at the time 6 properties. Okay. And so, and we weren't wealthy, but we had a good group of people that were investors, real estate. My wife did mortgages. I did the labor side. I would go with my friend, and we go fix up his house, and we basically get appraisal and sell it. So what we learned was, if you formed a good team, you can all buy houses and sell it to each other. You fix it up, and you get a higher appraisal, and then you sell the house to your partner, and they do the same thing, and they sell it, and they sell it. And as long as everybody has good credit, and we pay off the loans, and we pay each other off the profits, and you put it back out on the market at $1 million when it started at $300,000. I'm kind of overinflating the prices. Even though that made sense, and even though it was allowed, because this was during the Obama administration, even though it was allowed, it hurt the market so bad.
Yeah.
And the term they use for that is, I believe it's straw buyers.
Oh, okay.
So basically, even though the bank transactions look good on paper, the final result was the housing market was hurt so bad in so many ways, because those were not real people buying houses. They were just a bunch of people throwing a house around in a circle, fixing, selling, getting money. And my wife and I jumped out of this early enough, and I'm not throwing shade. The people that were involved are family. They're literally family to us.
Yeah.
But this was the largest real estate mortgage fraud case in the state of Hawaii, if not possibly in the nation at the time. 21 people were arrested by the FBI, indicted. I think 21 were sentenced, and they were all put in federal, whatever, prison and all that stuff. And so we were fortunate we weren't involved in that, because we got out in time and our hands were clean. My parents, their hands were clean, even though we were in the same office, we were all in the same business. But I say all that, when it comes to engagement farming, if you are engaging in a group of people that are encouraging metrics that are not legitimately organic to benefit the platform and your listeners or your followers, you're just creating something so you can get something for yourself or the group of people that you are with. In the long run, it's not going to help the platform. It's not going to help your audience. It's not going to help you, because it's not real. There's a famous meme where, I forget her name. She got famous for being on a plane where she saw people on a plane and she goes, that person's not real.
Yes.
So that's what I'll say. And if we are engaging in that in the long run, it's not real. Well, my name is Greg. Family, thank you for listening. If you want someone to follow that will motivate you, does great live streams, she is a catastrophic illness and injury life quality advocate, physically challenged hiker, freestyle speedbagger, follow Tala Smith. It's Tala_no excuses on all social platforms. If you want to connect with her, it's substack.com/@TalaVision. I'll put all the descriptions in the bottom description thingies on all socials. So, Tala, thank you so much for being here. Man, it's been fun. I love doing these with Tala. Tala's easy. Like, there's no, yeah.
Yes.
So, thank you again, Tala. We'll be doing this again soon. To all of the people that are lurking in the shadows on X, I see you. I have a bot program that tells me who's watching. So, joke's on you. But we love you guys. God bless you guys. Until next time, as I always say, mahalo for your time. There's no hearts unless you like this. Your time, data, all that good stuff. But most importantly, family, thank you for your time above everything else. My name is Brother Greg, aka the real Greg Lopez. Some of you call me G-Lo, or if you're friends or family, Brother Greg is fine. On behalf of me and Tala and the rest of the listeners, mahalo. See you next time. Aloha.